Hello, I hope everybody is okay and happy Friday. Today, I want to talk about a bit pain points in construction sector. Last week, I prepared an article about pain points in construction sector. And it's a long article, and of course you can read it. Uh, but I try to make some summary of this article, and I want to talk about it. I have two main targets for this presentation. One is I want to talk about pain points in construction sector, and secondly, I think you have a experience in construction sector, so maybe you can make some additions or you can make some comments. Maybe you can find some mistakes, and please do that. You can do this under this stream, or you can make it under the article in Medium article. So yes, we can start now. Yes, this is the article. I made an article. 21 pain points. There are a lot pain points in construction sector. Uh, they are, of course, very effective in construction, and we can start it. First is standardization. If you work in construction sector, if you from the design to construction to engineering in every stage, you see that standardization is a big problem because each team moves according to their experience, and generally this affects a whole process. Uh, Especially in construction project, in construction site, project managers are so effective, and project managers are chosen based on their previous experience, end up keeping same procedures they used on previous projects. So they are not open to innovation and new implementation. They don't change their mind easily. Uh, this is of course a problem about about the sector because different people act differently, and it comes a point. It's a power race, power competition between different parties. The powerful main contractor, for example, push its standards to other parties. But this doesn't work because it's not a standardization, just contract-based standardization, but it's just specific for a project. I think this is not a good approach, and this is a big problem for the construction sector. It's about the standardization. Uh, Second, of course, everybody knows there's temporary production. We are not like a manufacturing sector, and temporary production is a huge problem. Uh, Teams are temporary. All production cycle is temporary, and so it's affecting the quality, communication, coordination. These are huge problems, and the main cause is the temporary production. As you predict, one construction project depends on the size of the project. Can take 1 year, 2 year, maybe 3 year, but it is not a long-term thing like 10 years, 15 years, like a manufacturing sector. In automotive sector, for example, if you are working in automotive sector, you can work in same type of project for 15 years in same place, in same production with same production system. So it is always same. But in the construction sector, it changes. People change project in every 3 year, and this affects, of course, in system change the project to project, as I said, because there is no standardization. So this affects, of course, quality. People couldn't understand the general workflow, so it's a bit confusing. And of course, formed by members of different organizations, and in the construction there are different teams and different parties. They are working together, and this creates a lot of conflicts because they don't have a one target in a project. It generally changes a lot. So I think there's another problem. And now, especially for the UK and for the developed companies, there's a human resource shortage in the construction sector, and it's increasing. Why? Because new people, newcomers, don't want to work in construction site, or in construction sector, because it's not sexy to work in construction sector, especially if you compare other sectors. And because of that, there's a shortage. People are retiring, and newcomers are so not so much, and quality is so low. So it is affecting all the sector. People could now companies couldn't find skilled workers, and this will increase in coming years. Especially for the UK, there's a ambitions about to build new houses each year. There's a huge number, but unfortunately, it's not easy to find necessary resources to fulfill these targets. So this is an important thing. And what is the result of this problem? One is salaries are increasing, and this of course directly affects cost of the construction sector. And second thing, maybe the more other important thing, is this shortage affecting the construction sector drastically about the productivity, because the quality start to be lower, and it's affecting all sector. I don't want to talk about the solutions because it will make our presentation so long. Just I want to talk about a bit about the problems, pain points. Then there are a lot of more text here. If you like, you can check my article. You can read, you can make comment. And low entry barrier. In the construction sector, entry barrier is so low. In the design, especially in other parts, in subcontractor part, the companies can easily enter to the competition. So it's so competitive market. This is one side is a good, but mainly it's not a good thing. It's a big problem because it creates a saturated marketplace with heavy competition, and it creates pressure on the companies, and this causes profit shrinking. Profits are going down, and constraining essential investment in the innovative technologies and better business practices. If you know, when we talk about the construction projects, generally people have a low budget, and they don't want to spend any money to new tryouts, new innovations, because they have a limited budget. I think it's very important because it is a big bottleneck for us to create a new things, new solutions. I think it is very important for us. I give some statistical data here about it, but bottom line, as you predict, is affecting, of course, profitability and sustainability of the sector. And uh, I don't want to talk again solutions because it's BIM requirement. Building information model is so important, and everybody is pushing it in the sector. Yes, this is normal, but you know that if you force the BIM as a requirement, contractual requirement, and we couldn't explain real benefit of the BIM, it start to be uh, just a new workload for some companies. So without strong leadership and the true dimension of BIM and takes to bring all employees into project, success is much more difficult. So I think we have to change mindset of the sector beforehand the BIM implementation. So if you just force the people to use the BIM, what we are seeing, there's a huge problem uh, in the collaboration side, in the cost side of the projects. And people are always, and especially small companies, are talking about BIM are create is a cost center in their project life cycle. So it is not a good thing. And BIM is a very good tool for contractors, for designers, but we should put it the right place, and we should position it effectively, and we should create a real environment for the BIM. So this is another important thing for the construction sector. And contracts. One of the main problem, construction sector is very contract centric. All businesses are contract centric, yes, but especially in the construction sector, allocation is not so fair. Generally, stronger parties forcing others, smaller ones, to take the more risk than they can take. And this creates a huge pressure on these smaller companies, and this creates this decrease the quality, decrease the productivity, and creates a not a cooperation environment. It creates a very big arguments between the parties because you should understand that risk allocation, risk sharing is very important part of the project management. And if you can't share this uh, risk fairly with the other parties, and we just overload some companies with the risk, uh, it creates a big problem in the coordination and in the synergy of the production. So we leave this in the construction process regularly. And other thing is budgeting. Uh, this is generally every time we leave the same scenario. We make budgets for the construction projects. Then these budgets are just the starting point, and then we exceed these budgets. And this is very important because when we exceed these budgets, it affects government, it affects private owners, it affects contractors, and it creates claims between these parties. Why we are exceeding these budgets? Because we couldn't make proper calculations at the beginning. We couldn't estimate real risks, and the planning phase is so short, and we have to give these decisions so fast that this creates huge risk on the budget, and we leave this budget in very bad way. So yeah, and this is very negative effect for the construction projects because everybody knows that cash flows are not working what we've planned, budget not working. So this creates another risk for the generally for the construction projects, and this always has a huge impact on new innovation investments or for the valuation of the construction companies. There's a huge problem to understand what is going on the projects, what are the risks, and how the budgets will be managing. So this is another important thing which directly affect construction sector. Other pain point is big tech companies. Why I write is it's not a big problem. Of course, sometimes of course big tech companies are so important, but in a point, especially in the construction sector, big tech companies are trying to sell some products to the construction companies, but the companies are not ready for it. Okay, and of course these tools are so valuable, like BIM. BIM is one of the uh, concepts. We can make more specific. Maybe we can say Autodesk Revit. Yes, it's a perfect tool. Or planning tools like Primavera, MS Project, or some ERP solutions. Perfect. People have to use it. But using of that kind of technologies are related to maturity of the companies. If we just try to sell these software solutions to the companies and forcing to use it, at that we don't create a better process for these companies, workflow for these companies. We just create a new problems for them because they are not mature, they are not ready for it for them. So this is a problem. Yes, of course, it's a problem because we should. These companies are creating some uh, uh, case studies, and they say that everything is wonderful with our tools. They create that kind of idea for the companies. They say that if you buy our solutions, your systems will be better, you will be make more profit. But this is not true, and this is the marketing, of course. But this marketing, unfortunately, doesn't work properly because people are have a high expectation from these products, then they feel not good about it. It and this affect again the sector, and they say that I heard that Beam is not working, for example. I heard that a lot of time, especially for smaller companies. It's not about the Beam concepts. It's not about the Revit. It's about marketing. If you put a lot of marketing about some kind of technologies, like for example AI, machine learning, whatever, it starts to create an expectation, and these expectations not fulfilled generally, and you can't just put technology on major company and you can't do it more effective. So this is a big challenge for the sector. So we should understand that we need more guidance to use better technologies. It is not just uh, buy some software licenses. It's not solving anything. So this related to another problem, our tech selection, technology selection problems. Of course, in the construction sector, uh, common approach for companies is to let their employees to try new products at will, hoping the best solution will float to top. This is an interesting approach, but generally it's working like that. If you are a construction technology company or startup, first you go to a project manager or construction manager, and they try out your product in a way, and they say that oh it is working, and then they use it in their project, and they then sell this product to the company. Of course, it's sell in-house sell, and then the company likes it, and it goes like that. This is not a normal approach to buying some technology solutions, because normally companies should have a strategy and should have some needs and pain points, and the technology solutions should solve this problem, and the company should give the decision to use them, and then the projects should use these solutions to create a common data environment, to common technology stack for the company. This is the normal workflow of this issue. But unfortunately, in construction sector, it is so messy. Okay, uh, there is different technologies. People are trying different things. They are trying to connect different solutions. Uh, of course, there is different requirements. Some cost owners or project managers using different tools. They are and they insist of using it. So this creates a huge mess in the technology stack of the project. Uh, because of that, for the same company, you can see different technology solutions in different projects, and it is really a big problem for to create a unique approach, unique strategy for a company. So I think this is a huge problem for the sector again. And 10th problem, of course, is related for the vision. Uh, Unfortunately, general construction companies can't focus on total cost of ownership. Uh, they they generally, uh, uh, as I said, there's a budget pressure. There, there is a cash flow problems, and the companies always try to be more cost effective and try to solve their problems practically. And it's a bit agile, but at the end they couldn't create a vision generally. Big ones, big construction companies can do it, of course, a bit. They are focusing on carbon zero for the energy consumption, for the productivity. They can have some vision. But when we go the smaller ones, and smaller construction companies, designers are so important for our sector, because they are lot and they are so effective in the projects. If you go them, if you look to micro scale, they are more important than the big ones, because they make a lot of things on the construction sector. There are a lot of small and medium projects are going on, and really they are not so small from the personal view. So they are so important. So for these companies, we couldn't create a vision, because they are so struggling about the project progress. They try to find job, new projects. So they are so struggling, and they couldn't create a vision for different problems like environmental problems, like carbon problems, like cost productivity. They couldn't use different innovations because they are so blocked with different problems. So I think this all problems are related to each other at the end, but vision is important. So I think the smaller companies, medium-sized companies should put vision, and these visions are should be valuable for their relations with the other companies, and they create a general vision for the sector. I think this is very important problem for the sector. And low productivity, of course, everybody knows that construction sector has a low productivity. Maybe this is a result, but of course, at the same time, it's a problem. Uh, Poor productivity in the construction today is a result of multitude of factors. Although there are large players around the world, construction also has a large number of low productivity small for companies. Uh, what we can say that this problem is related to other things because it's related to contract types, it's related to vision, of course, it's related to other problems. But at the end, underinvestment is so critical, of course, about the product. But we should understand that productivity is a problem. Unfortunately, a lot of company is accept the unproductivity is a normal. They say that okay, this is the construction sector, it doesn't change, and this is our productivity. This is our way of doing business. This is not acceptable. And if you know this construction production, you know that there's a huge opportunity to increase the productivity. So, of course, uh, new technology implementation, new approaches are important for the sector. And for the productivity side, we can do a lot of things, but we should first accept that there's a problem. This is a main problem, and we should find the solutions of it. Short-term mindset is another problem. Generally, in the construction sector, as I said, that construction is temporary, and budgets are generally project-based budgets, and project durations, as you predict, is 3 years, 2 years, 4 years. And so, for example, as a project manager, your main focus is maximum to for 3 years, for 4 years, for 2 years. So you don't put a target for yourself as a project manager for 10 years because you say that this project will finish and a new project will start, and this is not the scope of our project because our project just for 3 years. Why I work on for 10-year targets? It is not logical, of course. I think this is very critical problem because when you start to think in short term with short term targets, you can't make big innovations. You can make a long term commitments, and it starts to be a big problem for the construction sector generally, because construction sector has a huge targets from different perspectives, from different point of views. But when we look for the project base, we couldn't find this. So this is very another important problem for the sectors. And the experience. Experience is, of course, is an advantage, but at the same time is a problem for the construction sector because unfortunately in the construction sector, experience-oriented solution approach is a bottleneck to create company knowledge base. Experienced team members solving problem by heart without any objective decision system, and this approach is increasing chaos in the construction site. There are some heroes on the construction site which solve the problem with their experiences. Yes, this is very important. I know that, but this is not good for the sustainability of this company or to create a knowledge base for the company. Just you are solving with your experienced problems. Yes, this is perfect, but at the end, This at the same time is a problem for the company or the sector because we couldn't create a knowledge base for to make our uh, workflows better. So because of that, experience is important, but we should understand that we should create data. We should focus on more data centric approach than the experience. And experience makes some, of course, tuning in the workflows, but just we can't just trust experience to solve all our problems. This is not a way of doing business in our century. And of course, is of course related to data collection problems. In the construction sector, there are different data, and generally people don't like to use uh, systems to register the data, and they use informal ways of communication and coordination. More briefly, as you know, people are use WhatsApp messages, just communication, ask questions to each other. They took picture of the project and sent each other. They take commands. They solve these problems by calling each other, phone calls, WhatsApp messages, and face-to-face talking is so important in construction sector. But unfortunately, all this data, all this relation, all this problem-solving process are not registered to anywhere. Nobody knows what is going on when we look to big picture. And this is very critical for the sector again because if you don't have data in long term, we couldn't do anything to make our progresses better. And we are talking about the different software solutions, different technologies. We are talking about Beam, but at the end, we don't have data. We don't feed the systems with the data. We couldn't create an advantage for our company. As of course, we couldn't make our sector better. So this is another important thing for our sector. And other thing is low personal development, especially in construction sector. People, generally, not all of them, uh, but they are a bit close to new approach and personal development things. They just focused on what they are doing. Why this is like that? Because in the construction sector, a lot of workflow was so traditional, and a lot of solution are also uh, people are using experience to solve a lot of problem, and generally personal relations with the people more important than the systems. And when we come this point, people think about that, don't give, of course, value to personal development, learning new systems, learning new frameworks are not uh, so effective for them. So because of that, this is effective, of course, sector because this creates a circle, and people couldn't break this circle, and then we start to say that construction sector is so conservative. Why? Because people don't like to learn new things, and when you do this for a long time, for example, 10 years, if you don't learn new things, if you don't make investment to your personal development, and you have to be conservative because if you don't, if you are not conservative, you can't do job. You can lose your job. So because of that, we have to change this culture, I think, and we give time to people to learn new things and to make a personal development in the sector. And I couldn't hear much about that. People generally spend their time to daily works in construction sector. They can't spend enough time for the personal development and to learning new things. Uh, this unfortunately generally sector is going like that. Another thing is corruption. Uh, this is a huge topic, of course. Why is such sector is so corrupted? We can't talk it too long, but uh, all globally it is one of the more corrupted sector. Why? Because generally you see the cost overruns and time overruns in different countries. UK is the lowest one, but it is not to small numbers because we talk about approximately 10% cost time overrun and maybe approximately 10% cost overrun in the UK and other countries. If you go to developing countries and the poor countries, there is a huge cost and time overruns. And this creates a good place for the corruption. Because if you have a budget and then you are overrun this budget and time, this means that people can play there to make some corrupted works to for money laundering, to use the money others for the other sources, to create the different relations with the government, to create extra profits. So this is very easy in the construction sector uh, if you compare to other sectors. Because for example, in the automotive sector, everything is so uh, clear. You will produce an automobile, and you will do these steps. Your costs are these. Of course, there can be corruption, but there is no so much place to play. But in the construction sector, you can find a lot of place to create a corruption, because in each place construction process are changing, construction budget is changing, contractors, subcontractors, other players are changing. So you can say that I spent 10 times more because of blah blah, and you can play the numbers easily. So this create an important problem for the sector, of course, because if there is a corruption in a sector, it directly affects transparency of the sector. People don't think about increased productivity, innovation, that kind of things. They are just focusing on to make money, and this is not a good sign for the sector. And generally, we can say that, according to Global Infrastructure Anti-Corruption Center, uniqueness of the projects, complex transaction chains, works in concealed official bureaucracy, and scale of infrastructure investments are the main reasons of the corruption. Of course, you can read from my article, and there are details in this article, which I linked it. So, corruption is another big problem. On supply chain, uh, unfortunately, in the construction sector, supply chain always is a problem, because there is no a clear supply chain definition in the projects. It's always changed between the projects, and there are different players, there are different skill sets in, and of course different standards they are using. For example, designers, contractor, project manager, and of course material suppliers, equipment suppliers are have different standardization, different qualities, and it is not easy process to manage, because as we know, it is a temporary process. We are creating all this supply chain for a specific project, and it's changed according to which uh, geography we are working, which country we are working. So this is not easy thing to manage the supply chain. Um, Normally, big contractors using ERP tools, different tools, but when you go to smaller ones and some suppliers, you see that they are just using Excel sheets, some paperwork. So it is so complicated, because we generally we don't use the same system, uh, and people are different. Supply chain players are giving different type of data to each other. This data is not clear. People can compare different products, different solutions, and this some project managers or some supply chain managers giving some decisions according to their experiences, and this changes project by project. uh, and this is a huge problem. If you don't manage your supply chain effectively, it creates a big problem, because then you can't put targets. Your budgets are changing so rapidly. If you have if you have problems in your supply chain, and of course, it's related to risk management again, because it creates a huge risk for the supply chain. Because you know that COVID is so affected, and different, for example, war is affecting supply chain so much. In the UK, Brexit is affecting supply chain. So there are different factors affecting supply chain, and this is very important. This directly affecting construction sector. and we have to find solution for that to make it better. We can use technology, other things, blah blah. But at the end, it's not just related to the companies. It's a sectoral problem. It's a global problem, and of course affecting construction sector so much. And this, of course, we are coming to subcontractor selection. Selection of the best subcontractor is a vital process in the construction projects. Generally, there are many factors that must be taken into consideration when selecting subcontractors, and improper selection of subcontractor might lead many problems during the work progress. This is about generally quality of work and delay in the projects. Of course, if you think a big company, of course they have some subcontractors, but when you go smaller and local ones as a subcontractor, quality is so not so standard. It's changing so fast. So and construction sector is very not don't have a very high profit margin. So the especially smaller subcontractors can leave economic problems, and it is directly affect their budgets, their sustainability, and this affected big projects, and they can't finish their commitments, and it creates big delays on the project. Uh, this again related to other problems because entry barriers is so easy, and people giving a big promises to make the money, and in the construction sector to managing cash flow is a huge problem, especially for smaller suppliers, smaller subcontractors. They couldn't get money from their previous works, and their cash flow easily collapsed, and then they need support they couldn't find, and this creates huge problem in the projects. So there's of course different options here. You can think that we can select a better subcontractor. We can check their financial side. We can make good selection process. Yes, but at the end, this doesn't make the sector better. If you want to sector better, we should create a good relation with the subcontractors, and subcontractors should have a sustainable workflow. Okay, uh, for example, a subcontractor should make a relation with big company, and this relation should be long term, not a too short term. And then subcontractor can see what will be in near future, and can make a long term decisions, uh, because they know that they have a long term relation with a big company, and they will get new jobs in coming years. I think this is very important to make a sustainable relation with the different partners. But unfortunately, now subcontractors are generally struggling to manage their cash flow and profitability. And quality management. Yes, quality is another huge problem in the sector. Uh, Unfortunately, when we look the result of our construction sector, the houses, different infrastructure projects, there's a huge quality problems, especially when you look to home projects. For example, housing charity shelter research found that 51% of new built home owners in the UK have experienced major problems with their properties, such as construction issues, unfinished fittings, and faults with utilities. This is again related to other things because we couldn't find skilled workers. There's a skilled worker shortage, and then companies have to work unskilled workers. They try to train them, but they don't have time for training, so they put the unskilled workers to the site for the production, and this creates huge problem about the quality. And uh, other thing is for the quality checks. Of course, big companies is making quality checks is a bit better, but at the end, um, when you make some over budget in a project, everybody accepts in a point. Yes, we can accept that kind of quality. It's enough because we don't want to make more over budget in our projects. So budgeting problems directly affecting the quality. If you don't make a good budget, And if you don't plan your cash flow at the beginning, very good, very manageable, then it start. Then you can say that okay, quality is not so important in that point because money is more important, and you have to manage your resources and cash flow. So it creates a quality problem in the result of the projects. And of course, this quality management directly affects safety management. Construction sector is so bad in the safety side because labor in the construction companies is often associated with the high risk injury, and therefore occupational safety is an important element of the production efficiency in the area. Injured workers lost working days and financial costs affect the social and economic efficiency of the construction industry. This is a huge problem because this is of course related again temporary business, uh, unskilled worker. Everything is changing so fast in the construction site, so people can't take the precautions needed on about the safety. But this is a huge problem, and it creates maybe one of the biggest challenges for the sector because it affects branding of the sector. When people think that people are dying on the construction sites or big problems, big safety problems on the construction site, we couldn't talk about the we couldn't find new uh, skilled people for the sector because people say that we don't want to work on construction sector, and generally this is affecting so much sector sustainability and become the sustainability. Uh, Construction industry huge environmental impact from energy use to emission waste. Equipment often relies heavily on fossil fuels, and fabrication and shipping of materials are responsible for large amount of carbon emission. So UK and Europe and global world have some targets for the carbon emission and to change the energy consumption, and these so important topics. And for the construction sector, I think it is very critical. But people unfortunately couldn't find ways to do that because they have again not they have a limited budgets. They couldn't make effort to change their production processes. So I think these are the I can catch about the construction sector. Of course, we can find more. Just I want you please make comment about these points or add new points to it. Uh, you can make comment to this under the stream, or please reach my medium article. It's a bit long. 21 pain points in the construction sector, and you can make comments under this article. I will be happy about it. That's all. Just I want to talk about these problems, and of course, we can talk more. There are a lot of things, but first we should understand the problems. Then we start to find solutions for these problems. I think this is important. In construction sector, as far as I understood, people don't like to talk about it too much. Generally, there are a lot of good stories solving the problems because it is general marketing. But we have to focus on the problems. We should understand them, and of course, we have to reach the root of problems, root causes of these problems, and then we have to focus on them. We just focus talk about the upper side of result of the problems. Yes, carbon emission is so important. Yes, energy saving is so important. Yes, waste management is so important in construction sector. Beam implementation, planning tools. We are talking about them, but there are huge problems under of all these tools, and we have to solve these problems. And they are not about just technology; they are about the culture, they are about the approach, they are about the vision. So, if we want to change the sector, first we have to work on them. Then we can change a lot of things together. So this is my personal target. I try to create a, a group of people uh, which are making brainstorming about this. So if you have time, we can do this. We have a LinkedIn group, or we can just reach me. Maybe we can make some sessions together. It is important. It's an open relation. You can come and reach me, and we can make different projects together. We can talk, we can discuss, we can make some events. uh, we have to increase real relation with this sector, real problems of this sector. This is not the real problem of this sector is AI. I am working on AI, artificial intelligence, but it's not the real problem. This real problem is not beam. The real problem is everybody knows that. I am not the first people find this. Everybody talking about this, but not so loudly. We have to talk about these problems, try to solve them, and it will be better for all of us. Yes, thank you very much for your time. I talked too much. I planning to talk 30 minutes, like 46. Please make comment, uh, and we can talk again. See you soon. Bye bye.